Okay, time for part 2 of the Indo-Persian weapons. The swords! Let us go. Listen, folks. Okay, part 2. No fancy intros. We don't have that kind of money here. Today, I am continuing, or tonight, whenever you happen to watch this. I'm filming at night, so nighttime for me. I just did a video, hopefully it'll be uploaded before this one, so they'll be in order, but on my Indo-Persian small arms, and now I'm going to talk about my Indo-Persian bigger arms. First up, I'm including this one because of where it came from, and I kind of regret what I did to it years ago. I found this as my first sword I ever owned when I was about 10 years old. Found it in my grandma's trailer when we were moving her out of her trailer in Louisville, Kentucky, and I asked her where it came from, and she had no idea. Clearly, it came from India at some point, but as to how it got in her trailer and stuff, she doesn't know. She didn't know anybody who'd ever gone to India, didn't remember ever having anything from India, so who knows. Now, originally, it had a Talwar-style hilt. Talwar, however you want to pronounce it. But as a kid, I was into the ninja craze like most people in that time period. I won't give away my age, but it was the 1980s, 80s, yes. Okay, so I wanted a ninja sword or a katana or something. So I made my own hilt for it. And over the years, I've modified it beyond its original of what I even made for it. So here it is. I will start at the scabbard end. The scabbard used to be red velvet covered, and I kind of smudged it black with marker, but you'll get the point. There is the oddly European looking chape in brass. The repair in cloth where the scabbard at the end over the years has gotten chipped up. It is actually wood though, not very good wood. You can see it's got that weird ass ribbon, and you can see how it kind of was red, and I've kind of marked it in with black, trying to make it black for stealth over the years. Now you'll notice I have a side knife mounted to it with blue velvet and the same ribbon. I actually found that what was that, maybe 8 years ago at a pawn shop where I live. So that's about 30 years difference from when I found the sword and I found the matching side knife by coincidence. Now you notice the side knife has brass like the rest of this, but it also has an ebony grip. Ironically, my grip, I did in ebony. I used to work at a violin store when I lived in Atlanta for a few summers, and I made this out of ebony, this out of maple. It was a bass, like a standing orchestral bass, fingerboard piece that was broken that I used, and this was maple. I'm not sure what it was off of, but I took it on a belt sander, and you probably won't be able to see this because it's such a dark way. There you go. But I kind of, on just a belt sander, shaped it with a little bit of shape to fit my hand and where my thumb goes, so it kind of customly fits my hand right about here. Now this is not the original Suba I had on there, and I say Suba because it is now a Suba. What it was before was an attempt at a Suba. It was actually one of those little squares of metal that they put over electrical boxes in the house when they're not going to use them. Like outlet boxes. Just a square piece of metal that I took on the belt sander, rounded it round, and put on there and painted it black, and it looked terrible. And I still have the actual thing, but I'm not going to show you to you. It's kind of embarrassing how bad it was. But, I modified the sword. I got the sword when I was about 10. I modified it when I was like 15, 16 years old. So, I was doing what I could and thought it looked cool then. We all learn. But this Suba I picked up separately somewhere. I don't remember where. It's just brass, but it is fairly thick, so it's probably sturdy enough to take a few blows. Unfortunately, I mounted it with the little hole here for the side knife on this side, and the side knife is actually mounted on the other side now. I didn't think that because I didn't have the side knife at the time I put on here, and I epoxied the whole handle together with PC7 epoxy, which is not easy stuff to get undone. So if it ever decides the handle crack off again like it has done in the past, you'll see there's a, maybe you can see, yeah, you see a crack right down here one time where it did finally dry out on me and I had to repair it. If it ever does that again, I'll flip the Suba so it lines up. Let me start with the side knife. To get it out, I usually just press here so it comes up and draw it. Now what's interesting is it's actually cheap, probably cheap touristy stuff because it's not very good steel or anything. Let's see if you can get this though. But it has fairly decent engravings if you can see that. Well, I'm trying to look in a mirror in the reflection of my own phone. There we go, you can kind of see it. And it says, oh, right. I don't know if you'll be able to see that either. India. Yeah, India. So we know where it's from. It has this little false edge, and it's not very long, about as long as my finger, a little bit longer. The handle is just tiny, but it's a little side knife. If you grip like this and keep that part anchored on your hand, you could thrust with it and it wouldn't slide up your up your hand. I'm tired. It's like 4 in the morning. Give me a break. But nonetheless, it matched the type of handle I had on the sword in terms of the ebony, and it had the same scabbard and everything. It was kind of an interesting coincidence. Now, for the sword itself. Aha. It is a short, I guess we'd call it a Total War style blade. Now, like I said, it originally had a Total War style hilt that was done in brass for the guard, a little piece of clear plastic here, brass and clear plastic for the grip, and then brass for the disc. It was clearly probably done in the 60s, and it was cheap touristy stuff, but the steel is fairly thick, about a 1/4 inch thick there. If I take it over my head, you'll see if I grip here and here, I'm pressing out hard enough to make my ears ring, and the blade doesn't flex. So even though it's fairly soft steel, it does not have much give to it. So it actually cuts decently. It just doesn't stay sharp very long. Again, probably can't see this well, but I'm trying to get it where we might be able to see the etchings on that. There, you can kind of see it. Fairly pretty. Not very deep etchings, but fairly elaborate design. And it has some Hindu, I don't know, Hindu. That's the language. I forget the name of the languages in India. But whatever language that's in, it's Indian script. So it says something. And I asked somebody one time what it meant, and they said, I think it says made in India. I said, how do you know that? Do you speak the language? No, look on the other side. And he had been looking at this side where it clearly does say made in India, if you can see that. Yeah, made in India. So, once I discovered that, I named the sword Mindia, for made in India, Mindia. But now it has kind of almost a Mongol look to it, honestly. But it's a short blade. I forget how long it is, but about maybe 26-inch blade, but it's fairly hefty for its size. It's kind of like a shorter cutlass in a way. You can look down, it's fairly curved with a double-edged spear point. So it was my first sword ever. That's where I'm at now with it. It's still, I need to work on the Suba. It's loose again. But I don't hit much with it anymore because it's kind of a family heirloom of sorts, even though it's not probably worth much. I've tried to look up other swords like that online from India, and I found a few that have similar hilts, none in that style, but all of them are, cheap, touristy kind of stuff. This one is actually better quality than one someone gave me some years ago that was just looked like a saber, but the guard itself was so soft I could bend it by pressing it, But it had the same kind of etchings on it and a similar scabbard, but I gave that away. It was a piece of crap. This one, however, I've actually cut things with, substantial things. Like I used to hit trees with it as a kid because I didn't know better. I don't know, like trees maybe about that thick around. Didn't cut them down, but it sure whacked them. And then I've hit, I think I cut bamboo one time with it, and it did okay. But I don't want to risk, because of what it means sentimentally. Now, moving on. I always wanted a Tulwar, and nobody made them. Nobody made replicas. And I was upset when I got past my ninja phase and had already turned my sword into a ninja sword and not a real sword. So, when Cold Steel first came out with their Tulwar, it wasn't in the style I wanted. It was originally when they made theirs, it was the same hilt it is now, but it had no knuckle guard. And I wanted the knuckle guard. And the blade type on their first version is the one I have. The one with the same blade as the 1796 Light Cavalry Saber. Now, of course, once they've gotten the one with the right hilt, they make the one with the right blade and the right hilt that I wanted. Now, yes, in history, some Tulwar did have German blades on it, so this is not completely inaccurate, but it would be considered a Farang, which means foreign sword, or Frankish, or whatever it meant. But anyway, it's this Cold Steel model with the knuckle guard. However, I got this at a bent and dent sale, and my knuckle guard was originally quite crooked. It's still slightly crooked, I would say. I don't know if you'll ever see that, but I had to bend it back in shape some. I think what whoever makes these for Cold Steel did was they took the original hilt, cast it, and then drilled a hole in here and stuck the guard in, because it really has kind of an obvious, I don't know if you'll ever see it on camera, but fairly obvious little weld here where these parts have been merged. So it's still pretty solid, but it's kind of a funny way to do it. And like I said, now as of, I don't know what year, maybe last year or year before, they put a more traditional style blade on it. So I kind of want to get one of those too. But I got this one, and if you know how much these usually retail for, like, I don't know, $230, $250, somewhere there. I got this one for $90 at a bent and dent sale. So I'm kind of happy with it anyway. But just leather, no wood core. So scabbard or sheath, that's the question. Anyway, like I said, it has the big fuller and the hatchet point of the 1796. And although it is possible to find these like this in history with German or other parts of Europe blades, it would be considered a foreign-made blade called Farang. I hope that makes sense. I'm kind of tired. It's about 4 in the morning. I'm putting it over my shoulder here so you can kind of try to see the curvature of the blade because I'm pretty close to my camera. But I think you can see that it has quite a pronounced curvature to it. There we go. So, as I understand it, the Indians would draw the sword across the target. I probably should do more about showing how these are used where you can see the sword. But you also notice my small hand does not come flush with the guard. It's good for people with bigger hands. It's not quite accurate for someone my size because usually the disc would sit here right here on the hand. It prevents the hand from doing this, which I can almost do with this, with putting in a handshake grip. And that Matt Eason of Scholar Galatoria says, and I think he makes a good point with this, is that since they were drawing across the target, not extending out like this, but drawing close across the target, keeping the arm almost at a 90-degree angle and just, following the curve of the blade, that disc helped to keep the hand in the right position. So this doesn't do it as well. But I can extend it out more and do more like a European saber cut with this one. So as a weapon, it's more versatile. As far as authentic, it's still probably not what I would consider inauthentic, but it's larger than many historical pieces would be, certainly. And if you see, they did a nice job on the brass work and detail work and the fluting in the handle and the decoration on the pommel there. So, if you notice, my pommel block here, I can't, no, if you'll be able to see it on camera, it's actually not quite lined up right. It is slightly crooked. You can probably see it there a little bit compared to the guard. Again, like I said, I bought it at a bent and dent sale, so it being slightly crooked doesn't bother me. It's a character flaw as far as I'm concerned. And like I said, I paid $90 for it instead of the $200 something they usually sell for, so I'm fine with that. As far as point of balance, about right there. Now, how far out is that? I'm not sure. I didn't remember to bring my ruler when I started filming, but I would say that's about 5.5, 6 inches maybe. But it doesn't feel bad in the hand. It's a little tip heavy, but it's a heavy cutting blade, so that makes sense. We have the cold steel Samshir. Interestingly enough, they've also changed this one on me. They'll have a new scimitar, which they call scimitar. That's the Samshir also with a totally different design. But they have this one still in their catalog. But just, I think last year they changed it where this whole guard has decorations on it now. It's not the plain like mine is, which I don't mind. I just find it interesting because I think the scimitars by Cold Steel are made by Windlass. They're very similar, almost identical to the Windlass scimitar itself, except the Windlass one doesn't have this faux buffalo horn. It has wood, which I think looks nicer but breaks easier because if you drop it, the pommel stays on. I've seen several Windlasses where they break right across here if they impact, so you have to be careful with those because the tang goes out the back, not over and down. So if you have a windlass one, don't drop it, in other words. But the windlass one has a fancier guard on it, which looks suspiciously like the new Cold Steel's fancier guard. So I think that's what it is. Also, once again, just leather, no wood. All my small daggers and knives of Indo-Persian type have wood cores, and all my swords, well, the larger swords, the two I have just soft leather. So it's kind of reverse from what you usually get with knives and stuff. Now this one, from what I understand, they would hold like this, with the pinky anchored back against that bulb. Now I put my thumb up the back like you would a saber. I don't know. I've never seen a Samshir from history up close enough to handle. Look at that handle is so dark. I got a dark poster behind me. Do it in front of the wall there. So you see there's a little bit of room there. I don't know if that would sit tighter or I'd have to hold it more like this, or if I could hold it more like this on a period Samshir. I have no idea. As far as the curvature, ooh, that almost cut me. You can see that is also, well, there we go. You can also see that's pretty curved. Pretty curved. Not as much as some. Some have these ridiculous curves that go up almost to a right angle. Has a nice point on there. although very out of alignment for thrusting. If I'm thrusting here, you see that point's way out of alignment. I'd hit with the edge, which I've heard with scimitars, possibly, but definitely with talwars, that they would thrust kind of like this at a target, especially on horseback, and actually catch them with this part of the edge and use it to do like a passing draw, a push cut. So instead of thrusting, you're actually thrust cutting, I guess you could say. Also, if you took the blade and in midair, as you're swinging at a target, flipped it and came down like this, which is done in some European manuals. 133 seems to show that with the buckler, sometimes where you bind and you come over and then flip the sword and hit with the back edge, wind up in a position like this. And you see it in long swords sometimes where they'll do this and flip it and they'll wind up in a position like this. So, at least that's my interpretation. Some people might disagree with that. However, if you do that with this and you flip it, you'd wind up with a point coming down like that, which would stab at a great downward angle. So I've been experimenting with that with this particular sword, just kind of flipping it and winding up like this, especially if you're using it with a buckler or something. And it can kind of go around someone's guard, but still kind of thrust from a downward angle. Works pretty well. This one is definitely a lighter in the hand than the talwar, but it has a balance point further out by a little bit. It's, well, about right there. That is probably about, well, I don't know, that far. I don't know what to say. I don't have a ruler with me. I'd probably say like 7 and 8 inches, maybe. I don't know. I'll measure these at some point, I'm sure, and probably do a follow-up, because I want to do some cutting with them too to follow this video and just show something better. But I wanted to get something up because it's been about, what, a week and a half since I've done anything for y'all. But Samshir, as far as I've been told, means lion's tail. I've never seen a lion beat someone with its tail, and lions have poofs at the end of their tail, but I guess it's more the shape. Anyway, also I just wanted to let you see this. You see that little emblem there? It looks kind of like a volcano, maybe? That was actually a scratch on my scabbard when I got it, and I just accentuated it with a nail or something. I don't remember, maybe a pin, but I made it bigger and more pronounced. But it was there when I got it. Just kind of looked there, and it looked almost intentional. So I was like, well, screw it. I'm just going to keep it. It looks like it should be there. So again, character flaw. Oh, hello there. I am doing another odd exit for this video. That's a nice echo. Anyway, that's part. Well, what part of our now? 2 of probably 4 of Indo-Persian weapons. Those were the swords. Tell me what you think. I'm going to bed now. It's early.